Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to show you how to install and configure, part of the way, Oracle Solaris using the zettabyte file system, which is the main purpose and reason that people use Solaris, and corporations anyways. It's kind of fun to use. It's a lot cheaper and easier in some ways than doing a hardware RAID. It's actually ZFS, stands for zettabyte file system, which is a software RAID system. So you can see here that I'm doing it in a VirtualBox, Oracle VirtualBox, and I have a few hard drives here that are virtually created. I have two for the OS because you always mirror the OS drive whenever you're doing Oracle Solaris, and then I have 6 drives here, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Which are going to be for the data, and then I have my log and cache drives. I also have my Solaris ISO already installed and connected to the machine. The only other things that I've done to prep this are I've bridged the adapter so that the virtual machine can talk on my network, while I have also changed the CD drive up to the default, the first in the boot order. You can see I've given it the recommended amount of RAM, and as well as the hard drive sizes are 10 apiece here and 16 gigabytes here. 10 gigabytes and 16 gigabytes, sorry. In reality, these would all be real hard drives, and they would be a lot bigger, probably 2 or 3 terabyte drives. And the log drives would be SSD, and the cache drives would be SSD. I'll explain the purpose of these later. This video is going to be in 2 parts. The first part is going to be installing, and the second part is going to be managing ZFS, creating your default pools, and then creating your shares and sharing them out SMB to other users and computers. So let's go ahead and get started. So you can see here it detected the ISO and it's loading the operating system. Well, better yet, not loading the operating system, but it's loading the CD so we can install the operating system. So you can see here it's just probing for other devices, such as the hard drives, network cards, etc., etc. Excuse me while I plug in my laptop. Okay, so now we're going to begin. It's just asking what type of keyboard we want to use. The default is 27, which you can see is US English. Next, it's going to ask us the language that we want to install, and we're going to select English. Okay, so here we go. So I guess I can use some of this dead time to explain different things. If you remember, you saw that there was the two, what I said were the OS drives, and that's the 2 drives. One of those drives the OS will actually be literally installed on, and then after we're done installing the operating system, we will mirror that drive with the other drive. So let's go ahead and click continue to install Solaris. Press enter. And the other drives, the other 6 drives that were 10 gigabytes piece will be the actual drives that we put into a software RAID. And like I said, I'll show you a little bit more about that later. Press F2 to continue. And we are going to be using local disks. Press F2. Main thing to do is to read the bottom down here, because it changes the navigation halfway through the install. So you can see the 16 gig drives here, which are for the OS. Your 10 gig drives here, which are like I said, for the data, and these are the log and the cache drives. So the 5 gigabyte one was the log drive, and I'll explain that as we're setting it up and explain exactly what it does. But basically, it's like what's called a Logzilla drive, which is basically it's your write cache drive, if you will. If you know what cache in a computer does, basically it's your write cache drive, and this is your read cache drive, and the data pools. And it increases performance whenever you actually use them, because you'll use SSDs versus actual metal disk drives. Okay, let's go back real quick. We want to use the 16 gigabyte drive for the operating system. We want to use the entire disk. The computer name will be ZFS box. And we're going to go ahead and configure networking manually right now. It's kind of a pain if you wait. So we're going to give this 10.5.8. Let's say 150. Net mask on my network is 240, and the router is 10.5.0.1. We can configure the DNS too now. We're going to change this to 10.5.0.1, and we're going to go ahead and just clear these out. We can leave Google up in there. To continue. And this is a alternate name service, we're going to click on that. So you're going to pick your time zone, which America's. United States. We'll do Eastern Time, Indiana, most locations. Continue. Set your root password. So this is like the basic user that's created at the install, so I'm just going to do admin. Your email address, I leave it as anonymous. I don't really want them to email me. So this is just summing up the installation summary. Click F2 to install. And so basically now we're just going to wait for Oracle, the Solaris to be installed in the system. We can open up a terminal session here. Since we know the IP address already, we'll go ahead and start to ping these bots. And we'll see it come on the network. .13% of the way through. So I'm going to take this time to take a small break, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so basically I'm going to explain the Logzilla and the cache drives, and explain to you how they improve performance and what their purpose is. We're waiting for this to install, so that way when we're actually configuring it, you don't have to hear me talk about it. So the log drive in ZFS, basically, whenever a host is writing to the pool or the share, typically with a write, the host will write and it waits for an acknowledgement that the data that they sent has been written to the disk. So when you're writing to actual metal platters, this can be a little bit of a delay. on the system, for the client. So what ZFS does is it takes those SSDs that you set up as the Logzilla, which is the write cache, and basically it writes it to the SSD first, and before it actually commits it to the disk platters and the underlying file system, it sends an ACK back to the client saying that the data was written. So this way you can improve your performance because essentially the hosts are writing to those log drives, and the only time that your performance would be degraded is if you have hosts that are writing to it so much that it just fills up those Logzilla drives, and then you would be back to the standard performance that you would get without the log drive. So any couple seconds here or there, waits where the hosts aren't writing, it gives it time for those logs to catch up. And so for the cache drive is basically just like your processor cache or your RAM cache or anything like that. It stores the most commonly accessed data on the cache drive on the SSD, so that it works just like regular cache. And when the data is called for, it can actually serve up the data a lot quicker because it's already on the SSDs, and it doesn't have to search the platters and wait for the spin cycle to actually read the data off of the SSD, off of the platters. So those are what your log and your cache drives do. And there's one third type of drive that I didn't really include in this video that I probably should have, and that's your spare drive. I'll show you the command to add the spare drive, but I won't actually get to do it because I didn't create it in the underlying virtual machine. But basically what your spare drive does is it's the same size as all of your other data drives, and you issue the command to add it as a spare drive, and if any of those other drives go bad, that spare drive will automatically become active, and it'll what's called resilver, silver, and it'll write all of the information onto that spare drive automatically. So you have the potential or the capability to lose multiple drives, and when you have spare drives in there, they'll automatically be replaced with good drives. So it makes the ZFS system very, very secure. Or not secure, but very, very safe. Yeah. So we're about 70% done and almost there. I'm not doing too bad on time. Okay, we're almost done. Please feel free to leave any comments, suggestions, or anything like that if there's anything you'd like to see, or if you think I'm doing something wrong. This is all basically self-taught knowledge that I'm giving you, and so if I'm doing something wrong, I'd love to hear back from you. Thank you. Alright, 99% done. It always hangs at 99%, so it's probably take a couple more minutes. You can see that the host still hasn't came back online yet. Let's see if we can't get away with adding settings. That extra spare hard drive that we were talking about to this drive, because I believe this host does reboot after the install. No, it's all grayed out, so I can't add it. Like I said, I'll show you the command, but you won't actually get to see it. I'm also going to show you how to, in the next video, I'm going to show you how to join the machine in the domain. I'm going to show you how to do SMB sharing, and I'm going to show you how to set permissions on the file shares too using ACLs. as well as show you how to share NFS shares out through. Well, actually, the next video I'll do joining it to the domain, then we'll create the pools and shares, and that'll probably be the end of that video. So create the shares and pools, and then the next video I'll show you how to actually create how to set permissions on both on the SMB shares and how to share out NFS. So yeah, join me for my next video. As soon as this one's completed, I'm going to end this video. Okay, so you can see that it's completed successfully. We're going to press F8 to reboot the machine. Then after we reboot the machine, we should see these pings come back up. I'd be surprised if we didn't. So hit 5 to reboot. Also in the next video, I'm going to show you how to mirror the operating system drive. That's very important. Oh, okay. So what I'm going to do, probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to shut the machine off. Because it's stuck on booting into the CD, so we shut the machine off. In settings, we can go ahead and remove this CD. And we're going to go ahead and create that spare drive that I've been talking about. I'm just going to name it spare. Main important things about spares is they have to be the exact same size and type as the data drives that you're using. Okay. And we can start the machine up and it should boot into Solaris. There we go, hit the grub. We can go ahead and press enter to load that. You can hear my trusty old Mac complaining. Almost there. Almost there. Sometimes it can take a little while to start up in the first one. And you can see that it just came online. So loaded networking. You have the host name here. admin at 10.5.8.150. There she is. You can see we're in the box. When you log into admin and then you do sudo to get into root. There we go. So we have a little bit of computing to do ahead, but we're going to end this video for now. Thank you.